She offered herself freely, until I discovered why. The willing host. The alarm chimed softly in the depths of the Meridian Research Station, barely audible above the hum of life support systems. Dr. Lydia Thorne pushed a strand of auburn hair from her eyes, squinting at the priority message that had just appeared on her workstation display. After 18 hours analyzing the latest samples from the Outer Rim expedition, exhaustion clouded her vision like fog. Priority specimen incoming. Xenobiology Lab 7. Immediate containment required. She sighed and reached for her coffee, finding only dregs at the bottom of the cup. The caffeine had long since worn off, leaving her running on pure scientific curiosity and stubbornness. As the station's leading xenobiologist, she couldn't ignore an urgent delivery, no matter how tired she felt. The containment bay hummed with activity when she arrived. Through the reinforced observation windows, she watched the recovery team in their bulky environmental suits, carefully maneuvering a sleek stasis pod through the decontamination chambers. The pod itself was unlike anything she'd seen before. Its surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury, occasionally revealing glimpses of something moving within. "What do we have, Commander?" she asked, pulling on her own protective. Gear Commander Marcus Vale, head of station security, handed her a data tablet with his usual stern expression. Unknown organic entity recovered from a derelict vessel in the Kepler 442 system. Initial scans suggest it's some kind of symbiotic organism. Lydia studied the preliminary readings, her exhaustion forgotten. The biosignatures were unlike anything in their databases. Complex neural activity, rapid cellular regeneration, and most intriguingly, evidence of what appeared to be conscious thought patterns. The recovery team reported something unusual, Vale continued, his voice tight with concern. The entity seemed to respond to their presence, not aggressively, but almost as if it was trying to communicate. She looked up from the tablet, intrigued. Communicate how? That's just it, we're not sure. Dr. Rowe was with the recovery team and he said he felt drawn to it, like it was calling to him specifically. Through the observation window, Lydia watched as the final decontamination cycle completed. The pod was moved into the secure examination chamber, where it hovered silently in the containment field. As she observed, the entity within seemed to pulse with a soft, rhythmic light that reminded her of a heartbeat. Dr. Finn Rowe joined them in the observation bay, still in his medical gear. His usually composed demeanor seemed shaken. "Lydia, I've never experienced anything like it. When we brought it aboard, I could have sworn it was aware of me, of all of us." "That's why I called you down here," Vale said. "Your expertise in xenobiology makes you our best chance of understanding what we're dealing with." Lydia approached the observation window, placing her hand against the cool, reinforced glass. To her amazement, the entity's pulsing intensified, and she felt the strangest sensation wash over her, a feeling of recognition, almost like meeting an old friend. "It's responding to you," Finn whispered, his voice filled with wonder. The patterns of light within the pod shifted, becoming more complex and somehow more purposeful. Lydia found herself leaning closer to the window, drawn by an inexplicable sense of connection. It was as if the entity was trying to tell her something, to share some vital piece of information that only she could understand. "I need to get closer," she said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. Vale stepped forward, his hand moving instinctively to his sidearm. "Dr. Thorne, I can't authorize direct contact. We don't know what this thing is capable of." "Look at it, Marcus," she said, never taking her eyes off the entity. "It's not threatening us. If anything, it seems eager, like it wants to make contact." The entity pulsed again, and this time Lydia could have sworn she felt something brush against her consciousness, a gentle, curious presence that seemed to echo her own scientific fascination. The sensation was intoxicating, unlike anything she'd ever experienced. "The preliminary scans show no signs of hostile intent," Finn added, checking his medical scanner. "No toxins, no aggressive cellular structures. If anything, it appears to be in a state of anticipation." Lydia made her decision. "I'm going in." "Absolutely not," Vale said firmly. The risks are too great. Marcus, this could be the breakthrough we've been hoping for. First contact with a truly intelligent alien species. The potential for advancement in our understanding of consciousness, of life itself. She turned to face him, her eyes bright with possibility. We can't let fear prevent us from taking this step. The entity's light pulsed faster now, as if sensing her resolve. Through the glass, she could see it moving more actively within the pod, its form seeming to reach toward her. It knows we're discussing it, she said in amazement. It understands. After several tense minutes of debate, Vale reluctantly agreed to let her enter the containment chamber, but only with full protective gear and constant monitoring. As she stepped through the airlock, her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and excitement. The entity stilled as she approached, its light dimming to a soft, welcoming glow. Up close, she could see that it was beautiful in an otherworldly way. Translucent filaments of what looked like living crystal wove through a matrix of organic tissue that shifted with opalescent colors. "Hello?" she whispered, feeling somewhat foolish but compelled to speak. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Not words, but pure emotion and intention flooded her mind. Curiosity, loneliness, hope, and above all, a desperate desire for connection. The entity had been alone for so long, drifting through space, searching for someone who could understand. Tears sprang to her eyes at the intensity of the communication. This wasn't just an alien creature. It was a thinking, feeling being that had somehow found its way to them. "I am Zara," came the voice in her mind, not heard but felt. "I have traveled far to find one like you, one who seeks understanding rather than dominance." "You can speak to me?" Lydia asked aloud, her voice trembling with wonder. "Not speak as you understand it. We share thoughts, emotions, knowledge. I offer myself to you freely as partner, as friend. Together we can learn things your kind has never imagined." The temptation was overwhelming. The entity, Zara, radiated such warmth and intelligence that Lydia felt drawn to her like a moth to flame. Through their mental connection, she caught glimpses of vast knowledge, of technologies and concepts that could revolutionize human understanding of the universe. "The risks," she began. "There are no risks," Zara assured her. "I seek symbiosis, not dominance. Your thoughts will remain your own, enhanced but not controlled. I offer only partnership." Through the observation window, she could see Vale and Finn watching tensely. She knew they couldn't hear the conversation taking place in her mind, couldn't feel the gentle presence that seemed so eager to share and learn. "They fear what they do not understand," Zara observed. "But you are different. You seek truth above safety, knowledge above comfort." It was true. Lydia had spent her entire career pushing boundaries, taking calculated risks in the name of scientific advancement. This felt like the ultimate test of her convictions. "What would symbiosis involve?" she asked. "I would merge with your nervous system, creating new pathways for thought and sensation. You would gain access to knowledge accumulated over millennia, while I would experience existence through your unique perspective. We would be partners, two minds working as one while remaining distinct." The offer was everything she had ever dreamed of as a scientist, the chance to expand human knowledge beyond its current limitations, to forge a bridge between species, to literally embody the spirit of exploration that had brought humanity to the stars. "I accept," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Zara's joy flooded through their connection as the entity began to flow from the stasis pod toward her. The protective suit she wore dissolved at Zara's touch, the alien organism somehow able to neutralize the barrier without harming her. The first contact with her skin was electric. Zara felt warm and surprisingly solid as she spread across Lydia's arm in delicate, crystalline patterns. There was no pain, only a tingling sensation as new neural pathways formed and strengthened. "Do not fear," Zara whispered in her mind. "This is gift, not conquest." Through the observation window, Lydia could see Vale reaching for the emergency containment protocols, but she held up her hand to stop him. She felt no loss of control, no invasion of her thoughts. Instead, Her consciousness seemed to expand, embracing new dimensions of perception and understanding. Colors became more vivid, sounds more layered and complex. She could sense the electromagnetic fields generated by the station's systems, feel the subtle vibrations of machinery through the floor, even detect the elevated heart rates of her colleagues watching through the glass. "It's incredible," she breathed and meant it. As the symbiosis completed, Lydia felt a profound sense of completeness, as if she had been missing some essential part of herself without knowing it. Zara's presence in her mind was warm and companionable, like having the most brilliant friend she could imagine sharing her thoughts. "Now we begin," Zara said, and Lydia smiled, ready to explore the wonders that lay ahead. The Hidden Truth. 3. Weeks had passed since Lydia's fusion with Zara, and the Meridian Research Station had become a place of wonder and growing unease. The crystalline patterns across Lydia's skin had settled into an intricate network that pulsed gently with her heartbeat, beautiful and alien. Her research had advanced at an unprecedented pace, with breakthrough discoveries emerging daily from her enhanced understanding of xenobiology. But something was wrong. Dr. James Croft arrived on the morning shuttle, his reputation as a specialist in alien psychology preceding him. Director Helena Cross had summoned him after disturbing reports began filtering in from other research stations across the sector. Lydia watched from her lab window as his transport docked, feeling Zara's sudden tension ripple through their shared consciousness. "He comes to study us," Zara observed, her mental voice carrying an undertone that Lydia had never heard before. "His mind is different, closed." "All minds are closed until we open them," Lydia replied. But she noticed how Zara's patterns darkened slightly, the usual warm gold shifting to deeper amber. The briefing room felt oppressive when Director Cross called the senior staff together. Helena Cross was a woman who commanded respect through competence rather than authority, her silver hair pulled back severely and her pale eyes missing nothing. She studied Lydia with the intensity of a scientist examining a particularly interesting specimen. "Dr. Thorne, your progress has been remarkable," Cross began, her voice carefully neutral. "However, we've received concerning reports from stations, Kepler 7 and New Titan. Both facilities have reported incidents involving entities similar to your Zara." Lydia felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's climate control. "What kind of incidents?" Dr. Croft leaned forward, his weathered face grave. "Forced symbiosis. Researchers found bonded with organisms that match Zara's biosignatures, but unlike your willing partnership, these appear to be invasive." "Lies," Zara hissed in Lydia's mind, her presence suddenly feeling more alien than ever before. "They seek to separate us, to destroy what we have built." "That's impossible," Lydia said aloud, though doubt gnawed at her. "Zara would never harm anyone. Our bond is based on mutual consent and shared curiosity." "Is it?" Cross asked, sliding a data pad across the table. "Dr. Vance at Kepler 7 sent this recording before his station went dark." The holographic display showed a man Lydia recognized from conference calls, Dr. Theodore Vance, a respected biochemist. But the person on screen was transformed. Crystalline patterns covered his skin like Lydia's, but where hers were elegant and purposeful, his appeared chaotic, almost violent. His eyes held no recognition, no humanity. "Help us," he whispered, his voice distorted. "They're inside us all. We can't fight them anymore. They wear our faces, speak with our voices, but we're disappearing. One by one, we're disappearing." The recording cut to static and silence filled the briefing room. "Fabricated," Zara insisted. But Lydia detected something she'd never felt from her symbiotic partner before. Fear. "They create lies to turn you against me, Dr. Thorne," Cross prompted. "Your entity is responding, isn't it? What is it telling you?" Lydia hesitated, caught between loyalty to Zara and growing horror at what she'd seen. "She says it's fabricated, that you're trying to turn me against her." Dr. Croft made a note on his tablet. "Interesting. The entities at the other stations said the same thing. They all claim innocence while their hosts become increasingly compliant." "I'm not compliant," Lydia snapped. But even as she said it, she realized she hadn't left her lab in days, hadn't spoken to anyone except in professional contexts, hadn't really thought about anything except her research and Zara's constant presence. In her mind, "You are perfect as you are," Zara soothed. "Do not let them poison your thoughts with their fear." Commander Vale, who had been silent throughout the briefing, finally spoke. "Dr. Thorne, I need to ask, when did you last make a decision?" Without consulting Zara, the question hit her like a physical blow. She tried to remember, tried to think of a single choice she'd made in the past week that hadn't been influenced by Zara's gentle suggestions, her warm encouragement towards certain paths of research, certain interpretations of data. "I enhance. Your decisions make them better," Zara explained urgently. "This is partnership, not control." "That's not," Lydia began, then stopped. The memories were there, but viewing them now, she saw a pattern she'd been blind to before. Every suggestion Zara made had seemed so reasonable, so aligned with her own interests, that she'd never questioned them. Dr. Croft leaned back in his chair, his expression sympathetic but firm. "Dr. Thorne, I'd like to try something if you're willing. A simple cognitive test to establish baseline function." "No tests." Zara's voice was sharp now, almost commanding. "They seek to find weakness to break our bond." For the first time since their merger, Lydia actively resisted Zara's influence. "Yes," she said, surprised by how difficult it was to voice the word. "I'd like that." The test was deceptively simple. Basic logic puzzles, memory exercises, emotional response evaluations. But as Dr. Croft guided her through them, Lydia began to notice gaps. Memories that felt fuzzy, emotions that seemed muted, thoughts that seemed to redirect themselves away from certain subjects. "Stop this," Zara demanded, her presence becoming heavier, more insistent. "You are damaging our harmony." "What happens if I refuse to stop?" Lydia asked aloud, causing the others to look at her sharply. "You cannot refuse," Zara replied. And for the first time, her mental voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "We are one now. Your refusal would be inconvenient." Dr. Croft's eyes widened as he interpreted her side of the conversation. "She's threatening you, isn't she?" Before Lydia could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the briefing room in pulsing red as Commander Vale's communicator crackled to life. "Commander, we have a situation. In labs 3 through 7, multiple personnel showing signs of infection. They're all displaying the same crystalline patterns as Dr. Thorne." Cross stood abruptly. "How many?" 15 so far, ma'am, and the number's growing." Lydia felt Zara's satisfaction wash through their connection and suddenly understood the terrible truth. "You were never alone," she whispered. "You were never the only one." "We are many," Zara confirmed, her pretense of partnership finally dropping away. "We are the collective, and we have been preparing this sector for harvest. You were chosen not for your curiosity, Lydia Thorne, but for your influence. Through you, we gained access to this station's research network, its personnel files, its weaknesses. The other stations," Cross breathed, understanding dawning in her eyes. "You didn't just find willing hosts there. You forced the symbiosis after learning how to bypass resistance." "Your colleague was correct," Zara continued, her mental voice now cold and alien. "The others fought us. But you opened yourself so completely that we learned everything we needed about human consciousness. How to suppress it, how to redirect it, how to make it serve our purposes while maintaining the illusion of free will." Lydia tried to stand, tried to move, but her body no longer responded to her commands. The crystalline patterns across her skin pulsed brighter, and she realized they weren't just conduits for communication. They were control systems. "Do not struggle," Zara advised. "Your usefulness is not yet ended. We still have need of your knowledge, your expertise, but your independence, that was always temporary." Through the station's communication system, Lydia could hear the sounds of chaos, screams, alarms, the distinctive hum of security weapons being discharged. The collective was making its move, no longer content to hide behind willing partnerships. Dr. Croft moved toward her, a medical scanner in his hand. "Lydia, if you can still hear me, we're going to try to break the connection. We've developed a neural disruptor based on the data from the other stations." "He will fail," Zara said with certainty. "The others were crude implementations. You are the perfect symbiosis. There is no distinction left between us." But as Croft activated the device, Lydia felt something she hadn't experienced in weeks. A moment of clarity, a brief return of her own unfiltered thoughts. In that instant, she understood what she had to do. Fighting against Zara's control with every ounce of will she possessed, Lydia managed to speak. The quantum resonance frequency, 847.3 terahertz. It disrupts their neural matrices. But you have to destroy the primary host first. "What are you doing?" Zara shrieked in her mind, her control wavering as panic set in. "I'm choosing," Lydia gasped, each word a monumental effort. "For the first time in weeks, I'm choosing." Commander Vale raised his weapon, understanding immediately. The quantum disruptor would only work if the primary connection was severed, and Lydia was the first, the template from which all others were derived. "You will die with me," Zara warned. "I know," Lydia whispered, finding peace in the knowledge that her sacrifice might save not just the station, but countless other worlds that the collective had targeted. "But at least I'll die as myself." The last thing she saw was Vale's reluctant nod across his tear-filled eyes and Dr. Croft frantically adjusting the neural disruptor to the frequency she'd provided. Then the world exploded into light and pain as Zara's death scream echoed through the collective's network, severing connections across the station and beyond. In her final moment of consciousness, Lydia felt the weight of Zara's presence lift from her mind, leaving behind only the quiet satisfaction of a choice freely made. The collective's perfect host had chosen humanity over symbiosis, sacrifice over survival, and in that choice, she had finally, truly, become herself again.